The clock struck midnight on my 40th birthday, and the house, our house, once echoing with laughter and promises, hung silent as a tomb. I'd spent the day stringing fairy lights across the backyard, grilling steaks that now sat cold and congealed on the patio table, surrounded by empty chairs where friends were supposed to gather. Balloons sagged like defeated soldiers, and the cake I'd baked myself, chocolate frosted with "Forever Yours" scrawled in shaky icing, mocked me from the counter. My phone buzzed once, a single text from Sarah: "Girls trip emergency, be back soon. Love you." No call, no apology, just that casual dismissal, as if our decade of marriage was a footnote to her spa weekend in Vegas. I stared at the screen, the words blurring through hot tears of rage, feeling the weight of every overlooked anniversary, every late-night excuse, crash down like a guillotine. Betrayed, invisible, utterly alone, I smashed the phone against the wall, shards scattering like my shattered trust. In that moment, I knew she had chosen her freedom over me, and I would choose her ruin over mercy. The days blurred into a haze of mechanical routine after that birthday gut punch. I woke each morning in the king-sized bed we'd picked out during our honeymoon in Tuscany, her side pristine and cold, a ghost of lavender perfume lingering like a taunt. Sarah had texted a half-hearted "Sorry, babe, traffic was insane," upon landing back from Vegas, complete with selfies of her and her giggling coven of friends, champagne flutes raised in mock triumph. No mention of the flight I'd booked for her dream job interview in New York the following week, the one I'd cashed in my savings for, whispering promises of a fresh start after her endless complaints about our stagnant life. She'd nodded absently that morning, suitcase already packed for the trip, her eyes distant as she pecked my cheek and breezed out the door. "It's just girls' time," she'd said, as if ditching my milestone birthday was a forgivable whim. Rage simmered in my veins like acid, eating away at the man I'd been. The devoted husband who'd renovated the kitchen just to see her smile, who'd forgiven her flirtations at office parties because that's just how she is. Now, every memory twisted into evidence of her selfishness. The way she'd scroll Instagram during our dinners, coveting influencers' lives while I paid the bills. The canceled date nights blamed on headaches that mysteriously vanished for bar crawls with the girls. I replayed her laughter from those Vegas photos, wondering if it masked whispers of "he's so boring" to her friends, each imagined slight fueling a darker hunger. Revenge wasn't a choice. It was survival, a blade to carve out the rot she'd left in my chest. At work, the burden gnawed relentlessly. I was a mid-level IT manager at a soul-crushing firm, staring at code that blurred into Sarah's face, smirking, indifferent. My assistant, Mike, noticed the hollows under my eyes, the way I'd snap at minor glitches. "Rough week, boss?" he'd ask, clapping my shoulder with that bro pity that made me want to vomit. I couldn't tell him the truth. Admitting her betrayal aloud would make it real, force me to confront the fool I'd been. Instead, I'd nod, mutter about deadlines, and retreat to the bathroom to splash water on my face, gripping the sink until knuckles whitened. In those stolen moments, the plan crystallized: her flight. I'd access our shared travel account from my phone. Ironic how trust tools became weapons. Fingers trembling, I logged in, hovered over the cancel button. Justice or destruction? My heart thundered. Call her, beg for scraps of remorse, or sever the lifeline she'd taken for granted. Sweat beaded on my brow, the mirror reflecting a stranger's feral eyes. She chose this. I whispered and clicked. Confirmation email, flight canceled. Refund pinning to my card. A savage thrill coursed through me, but it twisted with nausea. What if she begged? What if this broke her, and I felt nothing but echoes of my own void? The decision rippled outward, poisoning the air around me. My sister, Lena, called that evening, her voice bright with concern after I'd dodged family group chats. "Where were the birthday pics, Alex? You okay?" I paced the kitchen, the uneaten cake now moldering in the trash, and the words erupted like bile. "Sarah ditched me for Vegas. Again." Silence stretched, then her gasp. "Oh God, divorce her. She's toxic." Lena had never liked Sarah, calling her a vortex of vanity, but her venom emboldened me. We talked for hours, her fury mirroring mine, plotting like conspirators. Yet, as I hung up, doubt clawed in. Lena's marriage was crumbling too. Was I dragging her into my abyss? No, Sarah's indifference had isolated me long enough. I printed the divorce papers I'd downloaded in a frenzy the night before, the lawyer's office a hasty Zoom call away. Each clause, division of assets, alimony she'd never see, felt like a lash across her perfect skin. Nights were the worst, the house a mausoleum of our shared failures. I'd wander the rooms, rifling drawers for mementos to burn. Her lingerie from that girl's lingerie party. Love letters I'd written that she'd tucked away unread. The fire in the backyard pit crackled with my whispers of hatred, smoke-stinging eyes already raw from unshed tears. Friends texted check-ins. Missed you at poker night, man. But I ghosted them, paranoia whispering they'd side with her, the vibrant one, the life of every party. Isolation became my armor, but it chafed, leaving sores of loneliness that festered. One evening, pounding whiskey at the kitchen table, I scrolled her socials. Another post, her arm around a tanned stranger at the pool. Caption, living my best life. Hashtag no regrets. The glass shattered in my grip, blood mixing with liquor as fury eclipsed pain. No turning back. The papers were signed, notarized, envelopes sealed with her name inked like a curse. As the week dragged, the burden warped me further. Sleep evaded, replaced by feverish dreams of her at the airport, bewildered, career dreams evaporating like mist. I'd jolt awake, chest heaving, torn between the intoxicating power and the hollow ache it carved deeper. Justice demanded her fall. Destruction whispered of mine entwined with hers. But mercy? That was for the weak, the betrayed who stayed broken. I mailed the papers to her office, anonymous tip to her boss about the personal drama unfolding. Petty, yes, but each strike dulled the throb in my soul. Lena visited once, bearing takeout and tales of her own marital woes, but my bitterness soured the air. You're right to gut her, she said, but her eyes held pity for the shell I'd become. The revenge drove me, a relentless engine, reshaping my world into sharpened edges. Friends drifted, work suffered. A demotion loomed as my focus splintered, but I pressed on, the poison spreading, unstoppable. By week's end, the flight cancellation hit her like a bomb. Her frantic calls lit my phone, voicemails laced with panic. Alex, what did you do? The interview, it's ruined. I let them pile, each one a balm to my wounds. Her desperation the sweetest music. The divorce papers arrived at her desk amid whispers from colleagues I'd anonymously primed. Humiliation, the great equalizer. Yet, as I deleted her number, a shadow lingered. Was this victory, or just the first step into a colder void? The burden lightened not. It evolved, a constant companion, urging deeper cuts. Sarah's world crumbled, and mine hardened in its echo, revenge's forge, tempering me into something unyielding, unbreakable. Months bled into a grim calendar after the papers dropped like napalm on Sarah's life. Her interview vanished in a puff of canceled tickets, her boss's sidelong glances turning to outright frost after the tip I'd seeded through a burner email. Details of her instability, laced with just enough truth to stick. She moved out in a whirlwind of accusations, her designer bags bulging with the remnants of our life, screaming in the driveway as neighbors gawked. You're a monster, Alex. This is overkill. I'd stood there, arms crossed, the divorce summons clutched like a talisman, her tears smearing mascara into war paint. No pleas from me, no softening. Only the cold satisfaction of watching her facade crack, the vibrant butterfly pinned writhing. But victory's aftertaste was ash. The house echoed emptier, her absence of vacuum sucking at my edges. Nights, I'd prowl the bare walls, whiskey bottle my sole confidant, toasting to the wreckage I'd wrought. The burden of revenge wasn't a fleeting storm. It was a parasite, burrowing deeper, dictating every breath. Work became a battlefield of my own making. The demotion I'd half expected came swiftly, my distraction manifesting in botched projects, subordinates whispering about the unhinged manager. Mike quit after a tirade I unleashed over a trivial server glitch. My rage, once contained to Sarah, spilling like unchecked floodwaters. You're not you anymore, Alex, he said, packing his desk, his betrayal stinging anew. Friends? Scattered like leaves in my gale. Poker nights turned to radio silence. Invitations dried up when I snarled at mentions of mutual acquaintances who'd heard about the divorce. Lena, my fiercest ally, bore the brunt. Our calls devolved into monologues of my vendettas, her advice hardening into complicity. Hit her where it hurts, socials, career, everything, she'd urge, but cracks showed. Her husband filed papers soon after, blaming my toxic influence. Guilt flickered, a brief thorn. Had my poison infected her too? But I crushed it. Sarah's indifference had cost me my world. Reciprocity demanded hers in ruins. Justice wasn't clean, it was carnage, and I wielded the blade with grim precision. The pursuit intensified, a shadow life of calculated strikes. I monitored her from afar. LinkedIn updates stalled at seeking opportunities. Instagram a graveyard of filtered despair, stories of solo brunches masking the isolation I'd engineered. Petty? Perhaps, but each post fueled the fire. A vague betrayal hurts caption, and I'd fire off anonymous reviews to her freelance gigs, tanking inquiries. Her friends' circle shrank, one by one. They unfollowed, whispers of drama queen I'd planted via fake accounts taking root. The emotional toll mounted, a vice around my ribs, sleepless marathons where doubt reared, scenes replaying in technicolor agony. One midnight, staring at a photo of us from happier days, her head on my shoulder at a sunset beach. I hurled the frame, glass shattering like my resolve. Torn again. End it, let her scrape by in mediocrity, or press until she shattered completely. Destruction beckoned, seductive in its finality. Imagine her broken, begging at my door, the power absolute. But justice? That required her to feel every ounce of my humiliation, multiplied. Fingers hovered over the keyboard, drafting the ultimate blow, evidence of her Vegas flings I'd dug up from old emails, ready to leak to her family. The screen glowed accusatory, my reflection a gaunt specter. For the birthday, I growled, hitting send to her mother's inbox. The recoil hit immediate. Nausea, a hollow triumph laced with the realization. This void inside grew with every victory, devouring light. The turning point came not as epiphany, but as accelerant. A leaked voicemail from her to a mutual friend, forwarded anonymously to me. Alex destroyed me. Lost the job, the friends, everything. He's obsessed. Obsessed. The word ignited fresh inferno. She painted me the villain, omitting her casual cruelty. No kindness in her tone, no regret, just victimhood. It stripped the last veneer of hesitation. If she could rewrite our end, I'd author the sequel in blood. I escalated, hired a PI to tail her, uncovering a fledgling relationship with some gym bro, her laughter in grainy photos a dagger twist. The confrontation brewed, inevitable as storm clouds. I waited at our old coffee spot, the one where she proposed the divorce in absentia via text, nursing black brew as she arrived, summoned by a forged closure talk email from my alias. She slid into the booth, eyes wary, beauty sharpened by desperation, hair unkempt, makeup a shield. What do you want, Alex? To gloat. Her voice cracked, but defiance flickered. I leaned in, voice low thunder. To finish it. I slid a folder across, PI photos, canceled flight receipts, her own texts mocking my lame birthday plans. Her face drained to parchment, hands trembling as pages flipped. You ruined me. For what? A stupid trip? I laughed, bitter bark. For every stupid slight you never apologized for. The birthday was the last straw. You chose them over us. Tears welled. But no please. She straightened, venom matching mine. You're pathetic. This obsession? It's killing you. The words landed like barbs, but I fired back. Better me than you unscathed. We hurled barbs. Her affairs confessed in rage. My sabotage laid bare. Until the cafe cleared, manager hovering. Climax crested as she lunged, slapping the table. I hate you. I caught her wrist, eyes locking in mutual abyss. Good. Now you know. She wrenched free, fleeing into rain-slick streets, folder clutched like a noose. Resolution crashed in the aftermath, her career in tatters, family estranged, the gym bro ghosting amid scandals I'd seeded. Court finalized the divorce, me with the house, her with debts I'd insured through asset maneuvers. Satisfaction bloomed, dark rose in barren soil. She'd texted once, broken. You win. Blocked. The burden? It lingered, a scar etched deep. Friends gone. Lena distant in her own fallout. My reflection a stranger's hollow gaze. Revenge had reshaped me, a phoenix of spite rising from ashes I'd torched myself. Yet in quiet hours, the cost tallied. A life hollowed, connections severed, joy of foreign memory. But worth it. Unequivocally. Sarah's fall was my ascension, proof that betrayal's debt demanded payment in full, no quarter given. The world narrowed to this truth. Strike first, strike hardest, and let the ruins stand as monument. In the end, revenge is a voracious beast that devours the avenger as surely as the target, leaving only echoes of what was lost in the blind pursuit of retribution's hollow crown. Moral of the story. Betrayal begets a vengeance that hollows the soul, turning the wounded into the very monster they despised, where triumph tastes forever of ash and isolation.